This is TLC to go.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling what feels like a cornerstone of effective teaching, really vital in the health sciences. We've been digging into some excellent resources, actually, from right here at the UTHSC Teaching and Learning Center, the TLC.
Yeah, they do great work over there. Fantastic hub, supporting us faculty.
Exactly, helping us take our teaching, well, to the next level, which, of course, ultimately benefits our students.
Absolutely. Their whole aim is helping us design learning experiences that, truly stick. And the specific thing we're exploring today, drawing right from their materials, is aligned course design.
Aligned course design, yes. Think of it maybe like building a machine, where every single gear, what students should learn, how you check they've learned it, and what you actually do in the classroom all mesh perfectly.
Right, to drive maximum learning.
So we're going to unpack why this alignment is just so powerful and hopefully give you some actionable ideas for your own courses.
Sounds good. Let's start with the basics then. Why even bother with aligned course design? What's the big deal?
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. Why does aligned course design matter so much for us as educators?
Well, the core idea, really, is that all the bits and pieces of your course are intentionally connected. We're talking your big picture learning goals,
Okay.
your more specific learning objectives, how you assess if students met those objectives, and critically, the teaching methods you actually use.
So it's about creating a whole experience that flows.
Exactly. A cohesive, purposeful learning experience, not just a collection of topics.
And the TLC resource mentions this idea of backward design. Sounds a bit counterintuitive, maybe. What's the thinking there?
It's actually a really powerful shift in perspective. Instead of starting, like many of us do, with, okay, what content do I need to cover this week?
Right.
You start by asking, what do I really want my students to be able to do by the end of this course or this unit?
Ah, okay. Skills and knowledge outcomes.
Precisely. What should they walk away with? Once you're crystal clear on that end goal, then you design your assessments to actually measure that specific learning.
Okay, so outcomes first, then assessment.
Right. And only then do you plan your teaching activities and select content specifically to help students succeed on those assessments and meet those outcomes.
So it flips the usual process.
Totally. Don't plan what you want to teach first. Plan what you want them to learn and be able to do. That simple switch, it really changes everything in how you approach the course.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, starting with the destination in mind. So what are the tangible benefits for us, for the students?
Well, there are quite a few significant advantages. Firstly, it just brings a whole new level of transparency for students.
How so?
When the goals, objectives, assessments, even the activities are clearly linked, students get why they're doing what they're doing. They understand what's expected.
Takes away the mystery guest aspect of assignments sometimes.
Exactly. It removes that ambiguity. And that clarity naturally leads to a more organized, understandable course structure for them.
Yeah, I can see that. A logical roadmap.
Definitely. But it's not just about clarity. Research suggests aligned design can actually foster higher order thinking skills.
Oh, interesting. How does that work?
Well, when everything connects logically, students are sort of prompted to make those connections themselves. They see how the pieces fit together, which pushes beyond just memorization. Some research, like Saavedra's work mentioned by the TLC, even showed a significant drop in failure rates when courses explicitly linked the outcomes to how they were assessed.
Wow. Okay. That's compelling. Fewer failures. And the resource also mentioned potentially fewer low grades, withdrawals, incompletes.
Yes, that correlation was found. It makes sense, right? If students clearly understand the targets, how they'll be measured, and the teaching directly helps them hit those targets, well, they're set up better for success.
Makes perfect sense.
And, the TLC also points to a tool, the Educator's Learning Alignment Instrument, the ELAI, which basically helps faculty check how aligned their own courses are. It just underscores that this isn't just a nice idea. The academic community really emphasizes this approach.
So there's real evidence it makes a difference. Okay, so we get why it's important. Let's get practical now. The first step the TLC resource talks about is developing learning goals.
Right.
What exactly are these? Big picture stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Learning goals are the broad, overarching aims for your course. The big ideas, the essential takeaways you want students to carry with them long after the final exam.
Okay. Broader than objectives.
Much broader. They set the general direction.
So how do we even start defining those big aims for our specific courses?
Well, the TLC resource offers some really helpful prompts. It suggests thinking about, first, the disciplinary aims. What are the core concepts, the essential skills in your field that this course needs to address?
Okay, the subject matter basics.
Right. But also, critically, thinking about the future needs of your learners. What will they need in later courses? What about in their professional lives, their careers?
Looking ahead.
Yeah. What foundational stuff do they need to build on? And finally, it's really crucial to think about how your course fits into the bigger picture, the whole program curriculum.
Where does it connect?
Exactly. How does it link to what came before and what comes next? Thinking through those layers helps make sure our course goals are really meaningful and contribute properly.
Those are great points. Thinking beyond just my class. Okay, so once we have those broader goals mapped out, we need to get more specific, right? That's where learning objectives come in.
Correct.
And the TLC resource introduces this. CalM's method. CALMS. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the CalMS method is a really fantastic, easy to remember framework for writing effective learning objectives. Each letter stands for a key characteristic.
Okay, let's break it down. C in CalMS.
C stands for clear. Simple enough, right? Your objective should be written in straightforward language. Easy for you, easy for your students to understand. No unnecessary jargon.
Got it. Clear. What about A?
A is for achievable. The objective needs to be realistic. Can students actually accomplish this within your course time frame with the resources they have? You have to consider their starting point, the course level.
Makes sense? Challenging the doable.
Great.
And L.
L is for learning-centered. Now, this one's really important. It shifts the focus. The objective must describe what the student will learn or be able to do, not what you, the instructor, plan to teach or cover.
Okay. Focus on the student outcome, not the teaching activity. That's a key discussion.
It really is. Next up is M.
Hmm.
M stands for measurable or observable. This is key for alignment. How will you actually know if a student met the objective? Can you see evidence? Can you measure it somehow?
Okay, you need proof.
This often means using action verbs, verbs describing things you can actually see or assess. Tangible outcomes.
Okay, so observable actions. And finally, S.
S is for specific. The objective shouldn't be too broad or vague. It needs to be clearly defined, focused on a particular skill or piece of knowledge.
Right, not trying to boil the ocean in one objective.
Exactly. So clear, achievable, learning-centered, measurable, observable, and specific. It's a super helpful checklist when you're writing those objectives.
Definitely useful. And the resource also talks about using action verbs, relating them to different levels of thinking. You mentioned measurable links to this. Can you expand on why picking the right verb matters?
Absolutely. It connects back to M for measurable. The verb you choose dictates what you're asking students to do and therefore what you need to assess. It's often linked to frameworks like Bloom's taxonomy, Different verbs correspond to different cognitive levels.
Like list versus analyze versus create.
Precisely. Are you asking for simple recall? Use verbs like define or list. Are you asking for application? Maybe demonstrate or solve. Higher level synthesis. Perhaps design or develop. The verb choice signals the depth of learning expected.
And ensures you can actually measure that specific level of learning.
Exactly. The TLC resource gives a great example. Learners will be able to analyze, that's the action verb, economic stability as a social determinant of health. That's the subject matter in rural settings. That's the qualifier or context.
Okay, I see how that pulls it all together. It's clear, specific, measurable. It hits all the CalMS points.
Right. It combines the action verb, the specific content, and the context. A really well-defined, measurable objective.
Perfect. So we've got our broad goals. We've crafted our CalMS objectives using strong action verbs. The next logical step, according to the TLC resource in backward design, is assessment design.
That's right. And the crucial word, again, is alignment.
Right.
Your assessments must directly measure whether students are actually achieving those learning objectives you just carefully wrote. They're the tools you use to gather the evidence.
No disconnects allowed.
Ideally, none. There needs to be that clear, direct link. What you assess should map straight back to what you said they'd be able to do in the objectives. The resource also talks a bit about summative versus formative assessments here.
Yeah, could you just quickly recap the difference for anyone who needs a refresher?
Sure. Summative assessments are usually the bigger end-of-unit or end-of-course evaluations. Think final exams, major projects, term papers. Their main job is to evaluate the overall learning that happened. Sum it up, basically.
Like the big milestones.
Right. Formative assessments, on the other hand, are more about checking in during the learning process. They monitor progress. They provide feedback Really valuable feedback to both the student and the instructor.
So you can adjust teaching if needed.
Exactly. Think mini quizzes, drafts, quick writes, concept maps, polls. They're like checkpoints along the way.
Okay, so formative is for learning, summative is of learning, kind of.
That's a great way to put it. Now, the TLC resource suggests aiming for at least one summative assessment for each major learning objective. Why is that important?
Good question. Why not just one big final?
Well, it ensures you're comprehensively evaluating student mastery across all the key learning outcomes you defined. If you only have one big final, it might not adequately cover every single objective you set out.
Ah, okay, so you ensure breadth of assessment.
Right. Each significant objective should have a corresponding way for students to show they've achieved it. It gives you and them a clearer picture of their learning across the whole course spectrum.
That makes sense. You want to measure what you said you were going to measure. And the resource also really highlights using low-stakes formative assessments to prep students for the bigger summative ones.
Yes. This is such a practical and effective strategy. Things like brief quizzes may be ungraded or worth very little. Short writing tasks, in-class exercises. If these mirror the format or the type of thinking needed for the high-stakes exam or project,
It gives them practice without the pressure.
exactly. Valuable practice, feedback opportunities, a chance to build confidence, reduces that test anxiety too.
The example they gave was using multiple choice practice questions throughout the term if the final exam is multiple choice. Seems obvious, but maybe not always done.
You'd be surprised. But yeah, it's about scaffolding their learning, giving them the building blocks and the practice they need to succeed when it really counts.
Okay, so summing up this section, aligned design means this tight connection, broad goals, specific call-outs objectives with good verbs, and then assessments, both formative check-ins and summative evaluations, that directly measure those objectives.
You got it. And the whole point of weaving this tight web...
Is to maximize student learning.
Right.
The TLC resource also points towards some other places faculty can go to learn more, doesn't it?
Yes, they do, which is great. They mentioned a short video, 5-Minute University Backward Planning by Kate Fauquier from our own College of Nursing here at UTHSC. Sounds like a good quick primer.
Nice.
They also reference an aligned course design resource from the University of Oregon's Teaching Center and D. Fink's classic book, A Self-Directed Guide to Designing Courses for Significant Learning.
Oh yeah, Fink's work is foundational there.
Definitely. And they also highlighted that Claire Major's handbook, Engaged Teaching, is actually available right there in the TLC for UTHSC faculty.
That's fantastic. Good to know we have those resources right here on campus. And they even mentioned the UTHSC Course Design Medallion Program.
Yeah, as another related opportunity to really dive deep into this stuff. So plenty of avenues for faculty who want to explore further and refine their course design skills.
That really sounds like it.
And, you know, at the end of the day, it all circles back to creating the most effective, the most enriching learning experience we can for our students. By really thoughtfully aligning our course design, making those connections explicit, we're not just making expectations clearer, we're building a much better pathway for student success and hopefully fostering that deeper, more meaningful learning that sticks with them.
So the big takeaway for us, for our listeners, is maybe to take a hard look at our own courses. How well do those pieces actually connect? Do my big goals really flow into my specific objectives? Do my tests and assignments truly measure those objectives? And do my day-to-day teaching activities genuinely prepare students for those assessments?
Asking those critical questions, it's about seeing the course as a whole system, not just isolated parts.
It's a really comprehensive way to think about creating a powerful learning environment.
Absolutely. And by embracing these alignment principles, we really do have the potential to see some significant positive impacts, better student learning, maybe even better course completion rates. It's worth the effort.
Really valuable insights today. Thank you. And for you, listening, we hope this deep dive into aligned course design has sparked some ideas, something to mull over as you think about your own teaching.
Yeah, how might you apply some of this, even small adjustments?
Exactly. What small tweaks could strengthen the alignment in your courses? How could that ultimately boost the learning experience for your students?
That's really the key question to take away, isn't it? It's always an ongoing process for us, refinement and growth.
It really is. And we're definitely excited to keep exploring other valuable resources and effective strategies for enhancing teaching and learning, especially here in the health sciences, in our future deep dives. So please do join us next time.